On the 9th of May 2025, reports emerged that the United States would be accepting the first group of white South African refugees in the coming week. This development has prompted a strong reaction from the South African government, which disputes the rationale for granting refugee status, labeling it as misinformation. While the US government, along with various other entities, has presented evidence contradicting South Africa's claims, the situation remains a point of contention. This raises critical questions about the underlying factors driving the refugee designation and the broader geopolitical implications of such decisions. Welcome to the Rhetoric Show, where I look at those stories that affect every South African in some or other way. Depending on one's political stance, the fact that white South African Afrikaners are being granted refugee status may evoke contrasting reactions. Some may feel relief, while others may view it with concern. One of the most influential factors in shaping public sentiment is political affiliation, particularly in relation to voting behavior in the last general election. Supporters of the African National Congress, the ANC, and other political parties without white leadership generally welcome the departure of white South Africans, a viewpoint frequently expressed in social media discussions. Many public comments openly endorse this trend, and some individuals may even reiterate these perspectives on digital platforms covering this issue. This widespread sentiment among certain segments of the population strengthens the case for those seeking refugee status abroad. However, this raises a critical question. Why does the South African government dispute claims of hostility when public discourse often suggests otherwise? The ANC-led administration appears to project an official narrative that contrasts with the rhetoric shared amongst its voter base. While officials seek to present a more diplomatic stance to the international community, public attitudes within the country indicate a different reality, one shaped by years of growing animosity since the end of apartheid in 1994. In a recent video, White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller was asked by reporters why President Donald Trump is allowing refugees from South Africa while refugees from other countries are not being accepted. Miller responded, stating, "Because what's happening in South Africa fits the textbook definition of why the refugee program was created. This is persecution based on a protected characteristic, in this case, race. This is race-based persecution." He further explained that refugees from other countries are not being accepted because the refugee system has been abused as a solution for global poverty, rather than serving its intended purpose of protecting individuals facing persecution. One reporter then asked Miller, what specific evidence does the United States have that these South Africans have been persecuted? Miller responded, "It's state policy. There's land expropriation. There's a whole series of government laws and policies that specifically target white farmers and the white population in South Africa. That's well documented on video. And of course, you even see government leaders chanting racial epithets and espousing racial violence. So it's all very well documented." Now, before dismissing these claims as misinformation, it is important to clarify what is meant by state policy. This refers to various Black economic empowerment (BEE) policies which remain in effect today. While the South African government and its supporters argue that BEE is part of a restitution mechanism, the rest of the world increasingly views it as a race-based discrimination policy against white South Africans. Denying this reality may align with government narratives, but it cannot be concealed from international scrutiny. Regarding the Land Expropriation Act, although the government defends the policy by stating it will only be applied in rare cases, the threat remains. Many perceive it as a tool used to intimidate white South Africans, including government officials and leaders. For example, Paul Mashatile recently stated, "We shall further use the Expropriation Act as a tool to advance land justice. I know some do not like this act, but we will implement it whether they like it or not." The threat in this statement is evident, yet ANC supporters and their allies continue to defend the policy with various justifications. However, the international community sees the situation for what it is. Stephen Miller's reference to government leaders in this context specifically includes Julius Malema and the controversial Kill the Boer song, which the South African government considers acceptable and has even been upheld by the Constitutional Court as not constituting hate speech. However, the international community widely regards it as a racist chant that incites violence. The United States, despite its own challenges, flaws, and political divisions, remains a nation where facts takes precedence over sentiment. While President Trump has faced criticism from the media and various global figures, opposition to his views does not negate the reality of the situation in South Africa. When facts are presented, political bias against the US or Trump cannot serve as a valid defense against the concerns being raised. The South African government is making every effort to suppress the refugee issue, as it significantly damages the country's international reputation, particularly among investors. South Africa is in urgent need of economic growth, which requires foreign investment. The fact that refugees are leaving the country due to government policies is a severe blow to South Africa's credibility and stability in the eyes of the global business community. Supporters of the ANC and its allied parties frequently dismiss the concept of farm murders, arguing that these incidents are merely ordinary crimes. However, this perspective dilutes the reality of a targeted group of individuals and denies them the right to protection. It is easy to obscure the suffering of a minority within the broader crime statistics of the majority. The denial of the problem lies at the heart of this issue. ANC supporters and their political allies show little concern for the minority white population, as they have been permanently labelled as oppressors. As a result, they've become the undesirables within South Africa's Ubuntu philosophy, which appears to exclude white citizens while simultaneously claiming to uphold democratic and non-racial values. In reality, these policies and attitudes reflect a systemic racial discrimination, despite official claims to the contrary. But what are your thoughts on this? Let me hear from you in the comment section. And if you found any value in this video, please do like, share and subscribe. And I will catch you in the next video.